Hello everyone, my name is Joseph and welcome back to the Popsicle Night channel.
In today's video, we're taking a look at the Lost Zone mechanic that's making a comeback in the new Lost Origins expansion set. We'll be discussing what the Lost Zone is, we'll explore if it's a good mechanic, and what's the best way and probably the fastest way to set up your Lost Zone, and then we'll take a look at some card combinations or combos that I think will be really good. The Lost Origins expansion set is a combination of both the Japanese Dark Phantasma and Lost Abyss expansion sets. There is no guarantee that all the cards that came in both the Japanese sets will make it into the English expansion, so some may be missing. And of course, the Lost Zone mechanic is the selling point of the new expansion. So just in case you're new to the Pokemon trading card game, you're probably asking what exactly is the Lost Zone. Well, to put it simply, the Lost Zone is like the discard pile. However, you will not be able to recover these cards or play them for the duration of the game. In effect, they're gone forever. And in a typical board setup, the designated Lost Zone area are usually in the middle of the field, in the opposite side of where you usually play your stadium. There are advantages and disadvantages to the Lost Zone. By putting your cards in the Lost Zone, it may allow you access to using a certain trainer card or Pokemon attacks that you would not normally be able to use. It can also increase the probability of you getting the cards you need from your deck, and you can even use the Lost Zone as a disruption against your opponent so they will no longer have access to certain cards. However, the downside is that you will never have access to the cards that you put in the Lost Zone. So what I'm going to do in this video is take a look at the new trainer cards and the new Pokemon cards that has the Lost Zone mechanics on them that will make its way into the Lost Origins expansion set. By the way, you should be able to tell right away if a card has a Lost Zone mechanic on them. As you can see from this example, these cards has a unique design to them with that wavy combination of cyan, magenta, and purple colors on the image itself or around the image window. So with that said, let's take a look at these new cards, and I will be using Pokebeach.com for my reference, so shout out to the awesome people at Pokebeach for sharing the translations and the images. To avoid confusion, we're just going to look at these cards in order of appearance, and we're just going to focus on their abilities or attacks with the Lost Zone mechanic on them. So first, let's take a look at all the Pokemon. First up, we have Shiftry. This one has the unique attack Winds of Defeat. For just one grass energy, you will be dealing 210 damage, which is an exceptional damage output. And then you have to put this Pokemon and all attached cards in the Lost Zone. This is good for putting cards in your Lost Zone to set up for your next turn, but setting it up will be a little bit awkward because it is a stage 2 and it may take you at least 2 turns before you can fully evolve it. But its attack can get you at least 3 to 5 cards in the Lost Zone in a single turn. 3 for the Pokemon line, unless you use a rare candy, then you'll only be putting 2 in the Lost Zone, and at least 1 for the energy and perhaps a tool card with it. But keep in mind that you still need to attack with this Pokemon to get all these cards in the Lost Zone, which requires you to end your turn before reaping the benefits of having cards in the Lost Zone. And this is going to be the trade-off for most of the Pokemon that you'll see in this list. Next up is Magcargo. It has the attack Abyssal Volcano. For 2 fire and 1 colorless energy, it deals 220 damage, which is pretty decent. But then you can put all energy attached to this Pokemon in the Lost Zone. So after attacking, you can put at least 3 energies in the Lost Zone. This is good for putting cards in the Lost Zone to set up for your next turn. The problem is that you will probably have a hard time re-energizing Magcargo again, making it difficult to keep attacking with it. Next up on our list is Delphox V. It has the attack Magical Fire. For 2 fire and 1 colorless energy, it deals 120 damage to the active and 120 damage to one of your opponent's benched Pokemon, and then you put 2 energy attached to this Pokemon in the Lost Zone. This is a very similar attack to Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX, and that extra bench damage is actually really nice, which is a good addition to most fire type builds. But after attacking, this can net you 2 more cards in the Lost Zone. Attack is great, but just like Magcargo, you will probably use this attack only on a need to basis because you will not be able to recover these energies from the Lost Zone. Next is Cramorant. It has the ability Lost Supply. If you have 4 or more cards in the Lost Zone, you ignore all energy in this Pokemon's attack cost. And its attack is Conniving Spit, and it deals 110 damage, which is pretty decent considering that you can use it for free. And if you add a Choice Belt to this attack, you'll be dealing 140 damage. And Cramorant is one of those Pokemon that you can really utilize if you have cards in the Lost Zone, and this is actually a really decent card. Next up is Rotom V. It has the attack Scrappy Short Circuit. For 2 lightning energy, it deals 40 plus damage, but then you may put any number of Pokemon tool cards from your discard pile to the Lost Zone. And this attack will deal 40 more damage for each card you put in the Lost Zone in this way. This can be a really powerful attack. If you Lost Zone at least 8 tool cards from the discard pile, you'll be dealing 360 damage, which pretty much knocks out any Pokemon in the game, which is insane. The downside is that you are limited to using this attack because again, you will not be able to recover the tool cards you Lost Zone, and you can't return them in the discard pile. pile. However, this is a great attack for adding cards in the Lost Zone, and Rotom V actually combos perfectly with Porygon 2, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But yeah, Rotom V is great for quickly putting a lot of cards in the Lost Zone, as well as dealing a lot of damage. Next on our list is Sableye. Like Cramorant, this is another card that benefits if you have a lot of cards in the Lost Zone, and you're actually required to have 10 or more cards in your Lost Zone to use its attack. But its attack is super strong. It has the attack Lost Mine. For just 1 Psychic Energy, you can put 12 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon in any way you like. This is going to be insane at picking off your opponent's weak support Pokemon like Sobble or Manaphy. Really good card, but you just have to figure out how to Lost Zone 10 cards quickly, and we'll go through the options later in this video. Moving on to our next Pokemon, we have Bayonet. This one has the ability Puppet Memorial. Once during your turn, you may choose a supporter card from your discard pile, reveal it, and put it into your hand. And if you do, put this Pokemon in the Lost Zone, and then you discard all non-Pokemon cards attached to this Pokemon. So the good thing about this ability is that it doesn't end your turn, and it helps you get 2 Pokemon cards in the Lost Zone. And it also helps you recover a support card from your discard pile, much like Eldegoss V. But unlike Eldegoss V that can attack and get reshuffled back to the deck, you won't be able to reuse Bayonet's ability because it will be Lost Zone. And because it is a stage 1, you will not be able to use its ability until it is evolved, so it will take at least 2 turns before you start adding cards in your Lost Zone. And then also, you have to have a supporter card to recover in your discard pile. But on paper, technically, if you can set up 4 of these, that will mean 8 cards in your Lost Zone in a single turn, which is really good. Moving on now, in my opinion, to be the best supporter Pokemon that will help you set up your Lost Zone in no time. That is Comfey. It has the ability Flower Picking. Once during your turn, if this Pokemon is in the active spot, you may look at the top 2 cards of your deck, put one in your hand, and put the other card in the Lost Zone. If I had to compare this to other Pokemon in the format right now, I want to say it's kind of like Mew, but not really, or Amazing Jirachi. Just because it's so easy to put into play using the level ball to find it in your deck, and then spam your Scoop Up Nets if you can to keep reusing its ability. And that will get you at least 1 card in the Lost Zone each time you use its ability. And to be honest with you, I think Comfey may just be able to get you 2, 4, or even 6 more cards in the Lost Zone within a single turn. And that's very significant. This card I think will be the best engine to have in builds that centers its strategy in the Lost Zone mechanic. So keep this one in mind, but let's move on to our next Pokemon. Next up we have Aerodactyl V-Star. It has the attack Lost Dive. For 1 fighting and 2 colorless energy, it deals 240 base damage, after which you put the top 3 cards of your deck in the Lost Zone. It's a good attack damage output, and it's another attack that helps you add cards in the Lost Zone. The downside is that you have little control of what cards you're putting in the Lost Zone, which is a bit worrisome, but sometimes you may just have to take those risks. And its V-Star power attack is also powerful, although it has nothing to do with the Lost Zone. You can turn off your opponent's Pokemon V's abilities, as long as this Aerodactyl V-Star is alive. I don't exactly know how practical this V-Star power is in the current format, but in case your opponent has not yet used their V-Star power ability, it may just be the best way to block them for the duration of the game. And there are a bunch of top tier Pokemon V-Stars that rely heavily on their abilities like Arceus, Darkrai, and even Palkia, so this may become a really good counter to those types of matchups. Next up is Barbaracle. This one is more of a disruption Pokemon. It has the ability Lost Block. As long as this Pokemon is in play, your opponent puts any prize cards they would take in the Lost Zone instead of putting those cards into their hand. What's nice about this ability is that it doesn't have to be in the active spot. You just have to have it in play. And the fact that your opponent puts the prize they take straight to the Lost Zone, it can become very significant to the point of even rendering their deck useless. Just think about the V-Union decks. Can you imagine if the Lost Zone one of those pieces? They'll no longer be able to use their V-Unions. Sure, it depends on what cards your opponent has prized, or perhaps they have Peonia, but still, it can become very disruptive. Moving on to our next Pokemon, we have Stonjourner. It has the expensive attack of Lost Shoot. For 1 fighting in 3 colorless energy, it deals 120 damage, but then you put the top card of your opponent's deck in the Lost Zone. The disruption built into Stonjourner's attack is really good. Again, imagine being able to incapacitate your opponent's entire deck just because you Lost Zone one of the most important cards they need to win. That is pretty insane. True, its attack is expensive, but there are ways to energize it, maybe use like Cherrim to accelerate grass energies. You can easily use this attack. I think this will be a great standalone card as well. And now let's move on to the king of Lost Zone, Giratina. First, let's take a look at Giratina V. One great trait to Giratina is that it is a dragon type, which in the current format means no weakness or resistance, and that can mean a lot for better or worse because it will have a neutral matchup with all other decks. Giratina V has the attack Abyss Seeker. For 1 colorless energy, look at the top 4 cards of your deck, put 2 of them in your hand, and put the remaining cards in the Lost Zone. The attack doesn't deal any damage, but it is good at putting 2 cards in the Lost Zone for that turn. And its second attack is really good too. While it has no Lost Zone mechanic to it, it can deal 160 damage and it is unblockable. It will just go right through Miltank. This is great to counter those types of matchups. And its attack cost isn't too bad either. While it requires 2 different types of energies, it is actually attainable since the third energy cost is a colorless. And then we have Giratina V-Stars, and both of its attack has the Lost Zone mechanic to it. Its main attack is Lost Impact. For 1 grass, 1 psychic, and 1 colorless, it deals 280 damage, after which you put 2 energy attached to your Pokemon in the Lost Zone. The good thing about this attack is that it deals 280 damage, which knocks out pretty much all other V-Stars in the game with a single hit. And you don't have to Lost Zone Giratina V-Stars energy, it can be the energies attached to your other Pokemon. But the downside is that you won't be able to recover those energies. And its V-Star power attack is Star Requiem. For 1 grass and 1 psychic energy, you may only use this attack if you have 10 or more cards in the Lost Zone. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now knocked out. That's it. It just instantly knocks out your opponent's active Pokemon. So Giratina benefits greatly if you have 10 or more cards in the Lost Zone. An instant knockout is really significant since it can mean an instant 2 or 3 prizes if you manage to KO a V-Star or a V-Max, regardless of their HP. This V-Star power attack is ridiculous. Although since this is an effect of an attack, Giratina V-Star's V-Star power attack is actually blockable, like if you use Big Parasol or even the Wash Energy for Palkia users. Overall, I think it's a great card, but I don't know if it will be the next best card in the format. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Let's move on now to Porygon 2. It has the attack Junk Data Blast. For just 1 colorless energy, this attack does 20 damage for each Pokemon tool card in both players' Lost Zone. And again, this combos perfectly with Rotom V. The more tool cards you have in the Lost Zone, the higher its attack, and its attack is just for 1 colorless energy. You will need 14 tool cards to one-hit KO any V-Star, that's 280 damage, and 17 tool cards to one-hit KO any V-Max, that's 340 damage. So while there is that potential to one-hit KO any Pokemon in the game, of course you can always just settle for hitting enough damage to still be able to two-hit KO any Pokemon in the game. And now for our last Pokemon, we have Bouffalant. This one is another Disruption Pokemon. It has the attack Lost Head. For 3 colorless energy, it deals 50 damage, but then you put an energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon in the Lost Zone, being able to deny your opponent energy so that it cannot attack, and not only that, prevent them from ever recovering them. I think this attack is broken. And those are all the Pokemon with the Lost Zone mechanics on them. Let's move on to the trainer cards, starting with the item cards. First, we have Mirage Gate. You may play this card only if you have 7 cards or more in the Lost Zone. Then you can search your deck for up to 2 basic energy of different types and attach them to your Pokemon in any way you like. Then you shuffle your deck. As long as you can set up cards in your Lost Zone, this is actually a really strong energy accelerator. 2 energies is a lot of energies, guys. And you can honestly use this in any deck build if you can incorporate the Lost Zone mechanic somehow. But this will go really great, if not necessary, with their Giratina VMAX build, since it requires 2 different types of energies to attack and energies to discard when attacking. So having this handy to accelerate energy is almost a must. Next up is Lost Sweeper. Put a card from your hand into the Lost Zone in order to use this card. Choose either a Pokemon Tool card or Stadium in play, either yours or your opponent's, and put it into the Lost Zone. This is a good item card to use to put as much cards in your Lost Zone because it guarantees you at least 1 to 2 cards in your Lost Zone, or up to 8 cards in your Lost Zone if you have all 4 of these. But it's also great for disrupting your opponent by permanently taking out their tool cards or Stadium. This is a must-have for Porygon 2 builds because its attack depends on how many tool cards you have in the Lost Zone for both players and not just yours. Again, this card is a great disruption card as well as an addition to the Porygon 2 build. Moving on now to our supporters, first up we have Colress's Experiment. Look at the top 5 cards of your deck, put 3 of them in your hand and put the remaining cards in the Lost Zone. This acts as a draw support, but it also guarantees you 2 cards in the Lost Zone, so you'll definitely have to have this in your Lost Zone setup. Next, we have Fatina. You can only play this card if you have 10 or more cards in the Lost Zone. During your opponent's next turn, your Pokemon takes 120 less damage from the attacks of your opponent's Pokemon V, including Pokemon that came into play this turn. You can only utilize this card if you already set up your Lost Zone, but that 120 defense can really go a long way, especially late game, and it may just allow you to survive a knockout blow. I'm not sure if this is possible, but this may just help Goodra V-Star deck, which focuses on a lot of defense. And lastly, for our Stadium, we have Lost City. When a Pokemon is knocked out, put it in the Lost Zone instead of discarding it. all non-Pokemon cards attached to that Pokemon are discarded. This is another one of those disruption cards which can permanently remove Pokemon from the game, but it can backfire if you are the one who loses your Pokemon. But if you don't mind losing certain Pokemon into the Lost Zone, it could just help you add more cards in the Lost Zone to set it up. This is a pretty scary stadium to have, to be honest with you, so just make sure you're using it responsibly. And that's pretty much all the new cards with the Lost Zone mechanic that will debut in the new Pokemon Lost Origins expansion set. So just to recap, I think the best and fastest way to put as much cards as you want in the Lost Zone is by using 4 copies of Comfy. This will guarantee you 1 card in the Lost Zone each time you use its ability, and you can use the Scoop Up Net to keep reusing its ability. And even if you can get 1 or 2 cards in the Lost Zone with this, it really goes a long way. You can then use Colress's Experiment to add 2 additional cards in the Lost Zone, and then use Lost Sweeper. If you use 2 of these, you may be able to add 2 to 4 more cards in the Lost Zone, and if you evolve into Bayonet by turn 2, it guarantees you 2 more cards in the Lost Zone. And if you can do all of this in a single turn, you're looking at getting 7 to 10 cards in the Lost Zone very easily, and it opens up an opportunity for you to use other cards. You can now use Mirage Gate to accelerate 2 energies to any of your Pokemon. Giratina VMAX can use its V-Star Power attack to instantly knock out your opponent's active Pokemon. Cramorant can attack for free, dealing 110 damage, and Sableye can spread 12 damage counters for a single energy. And these are the most obvious cards to combo with the Lost Zone mechanic. First on my radar is Porygon 2 and Rotom V. Rotom V attacks for huge damage by putting 2 cards in the discard pile to the Lost Zone, and combine this with the Lost Sweeper card to Lost Zone one of your cards on hand, and also one of your tool cards or maybe your opponent's tool cards that will further contribute to the attack damage output for Porygon 2, which will increase its attack depending on how many tool cards you and your opponent has in the Lost Zone. This has the potential to one-hit KO any Pokemon in the game if you can build up your Lost Zone. And of course, Giratina V-Star is really good on its own. The only challenge is its energy requirement, so it's almost essential for you to have Mirage Gate in your Giratina V-Star builds. But you're probably using most of the Lost Zone cards in this build, and it's a straightforward attacker, but the only thing you're really building up the Lost Zone for is for its V-Star Power attack for that instant knockout. I think it's a good attacker, but not sure if I would trade off consistency for powerful attack. And since you're Lost Zoning your energies, you will not be able to attack indefinitely with this Pokemon, so most likely you will need Cramorant as your 0 energy attacker, just in case you run out of energies. And finally, we have our Disruption Pokemon team. Aerodactyl V-Star turns off your opponent's Pokemon V's abilities, Barbaracle to Lost Zone your opponent's prize cards, Stonjourner to Lost Zone your opponent's cards from their top deck, Bouffalant to Lost Zone your opponent's energy cards, then have Lost City Stadium to Lost Zone your opponent's Pokemon when you knock them out, and also Lost Sweeper to Lost Zone your opponent's stadium and tool cards. If you can put all of these cards together and make it work, this may just become the most broken Lost Zone disruption deck in the format. And that's everything you need to know about all the Lost Zone cards in the upcoming Lost Origins expansion set. Which one of these cards interests you the most? Did I miss any cards? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Before ending this video, I want to thank you all so much for showing so much love for my channel. As always, before you go, make sure you are subscribed to my channel if you are not already. Make sure and leave a like. That's an easy thing to do. And if you'd like to help support my channel even more, check out the description of this video. You can always donate directly to me through PayPal. And you can also become a member of this channel for as low as 99 cents a month. You can buy me a coffee, and you'll also be able to get an early access to videos I've already uploaded before they are scheduled for release. Or you can also use the new Super Thanks from YouTube if you'd like to donate even further. You can also check out Redbubble, where you can buy apparel and accessories with awesome designs from me. And of course, for supporting my sponsors, btcgostore.com and yourplaymat.com. Links will be in the description below. But you don't have to do any of those if you don't want to. I'm just really happy that you continue to take the time out of your day to watch my videos. Thank you everyone for watching. Happy Pokemon gaming, and stay tuned for more videos.